Welcome to AniMirror, the podcast where the wisdom of the animal kingdom meets the depth of self-awareness.
We're your hostesses, Dr. Melissa Sell and Amy Michelle. Together, we explore the profound ways animals reflect our inner world and reveal the patterns shaping our lives.
Through the lens of the 5 biological laws of the Germanic healing knowledge, we uncover the deeper truths behind our experiences and how they can guide us towards healing and growth.
We mix a little woo-woo with biology. We're responding to the call of the wild, attuning to the frequency of nature that Dr. Halmer himself called quintessence. Whether you're curious about the underlying meaning behind your pets or frankly any animal's behavior, intrigued by nature's synchronicities, or seeking to break free from cycles of suffering, you're in the right place at the right time.
Each episode is an invitation to expand your awareness, discover new perspectives, and embrace the transformative power of the mirror animals and nature hold up for us.
So, come wildly curious and dare to open your heart in community out loud with us. And let's explore the fascinating interplay between the outer and inner worlds.
Welcome to
AniMirror, the new frontier.
I got you, babe.
I got you, babe. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. So today is like, I don't know, hard to say my favorite because it's a judgment, even a positive one. And it is. So, okay. How did this come to be? How did this episode even come to be? I was out walking my 4 Anamires, my dachshunds, a regular, normal, everyday walk, which plays a huge role in the story here. And I'm out in the movement and something drops in. So this is how it goes in normal day life. We're doing our normal day things and then a transmission happens. Well, I call it a transmission. The mission has moved through me. And the download, the transmission was, oh my God, life, the word life, the life as we know it, we think we know it, is Groundhog Day. It's like the movie. And immediately it just started pummeling me. Okay, wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's go back. What is Groundhog Day? What is the movie about? What is the concept of Groundhog Day? And then I thought, oh my God, it's the perfect AniMirror logo, symbol, totem for us. And I voiced you, and you said, which I did not put together, which really just kept it all going, was
So Amy's got this great idea, and she's talking about Groundhog Day, and she's like, "Oh, we should make a new logo for AniMirror as the groundhog." And I was like, "My birthday is February 2nd, Groundhog Day." So it's like all the messages came through of that is the totem for AniMirror is the groundhog. And the really just such a creative movie of this repeating pattern. Right? What keeps showing up? What keeps showing up? What day are you reliving? Right? And this ties in, and it's so cool and interesting when we look at the GNM, right? We look at our tracks and we look at these conflicts, we look at these chronic things that keep coming up and keep coming up and it's not resolving, right? And if you watch the movie, that was our homework this week to rewatch the Groundhog Day movie. You see, this guy can't get out of the loop, right? Until he sees something that he needs to see, until he changes something that he needs to change. That's the conflict, right? The conflict is this thing that you're not seeing it. You're reliving. You're unconsciously stuck in a pattern, stuck in a loop, stuck in a way of seeing the world. And until you see the thing you need to see and change the thing you need to change, right? You stay stuck in the chronic symptom, or your pet is stuck in their chronic symptom, and they keep mirroring back to you this unresolved thing. And there's clues everywhere. So he has to just keep reliving until he sees the things he needs to see, to change the things he needs to change, to have the experience of getting freed from this endless time loop. And so it was such a cool and perfect falling into place of just another piece of this AniMirror tapestry that we are weaving.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I promised us ourselves that we would weave it all in as simply as possible. So we've got AniMirror is the GNM base foundation, and then we walk over the bridge with the animal mirrors, and we get to the other side, and everything is different. We see it all differently. So, okay, so and I want to weave in astrology, a little human design, and even, okay, the lexigram in Groundhog is shocking. Okay, so anyone who's interested in human design, astrology, GNM, all the woo-woo, the lexigram. So lexigram is, what's hidden in a word, what words are hidden in a single word. And we've talked about how, for example, laughter has heal the heart in it. And so the lexigram is what sentences or phrases are in that. So we're gonna do our best to weave it all in. Um, okay, so why don't we start with, like we always do, we start with GNM. So the premise of GNM, like kind of the highlights of there's a conflict, and my preposition, all of it here is life in this view of this movie is a hanging healing until you resolve it in the ways that Dr. Hammer offered. And it's all sprinkled throughout the movie and our own life, game of life. So why don't we start with the technical GNM and then we'll kind of slowly sprinkle in the others along
Yeah.
the way.
So here you're going along life, and then something happens, something that is highly acute and dramatic and unexpected, and you feel isolated, all alone, caught off guard, and like the rug was pulled out from underneath you. And all of a sudden, how your psyche interprets, how your biology interprets that scene, this unresolved issue, turns on biological programs. And these biological programs cause our organs to adapt in specific ways with either tissue growth, tissue proliferation, tissue loss, or tissue necrosis, or functional loss. So something happens to the tissues when you're in this conflict. And then if you have another conflict that occurs on the other side of your brain while that original conflict is already active, this is called a constellation. And the constellation shifts, and again, depending on the flavor of the conflicts that happen, will change your perception of reality, change your behavior, change your way of going about in the world. And so these constellations, so if you have a double self-devaluation, oh, you feel worthless, you feel no good, you feel not capable, boom, that hits you once on one side, you have tissue adaptations. But if it hits you again on the other side, the way that biology helps you, instead of feeling like I'm a piece of dirt and oh, now I got kicked down again, I feel doubly devalued, the psyche shifts into megalomania, where all of a sudden you feel like you are the best thing ever. You're the best athlete, you're the best lover, you're the best at everything. You develop a megalomania constellation. Can't you see that's a solution? Biology is solution oriented. It's saying, wow, so here this organism's going around in the world. There's a lot of devaluation, a lot of not feeling good enough, feeling broken, feeling incapable. Boom. Now you feel amazing, right? It's a way to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get yourself out of the conflict. Another one is if you have a scare fright conflict, something terrifies you, right? And you're just like scared, speechless. And let's say then you have another fear in your territory where you feel threatened, you feel doubly scared, that creates a flying constellation. And the flying constellation is where you enter a new realm of reality. It is an escape. You fly up above, right? You zoom out from your terrestrial view of the world, and now you are in a different realm. This is the realm of like esotericism and flying into different realms, people who are really interested in different fantasy worlds, right? Because up there it's safe. Down here it's not safe. Down here I had a scare fright and a territorial fear, and I was bombarded with a lot of scary stuff. So now I'm in a dream world. I'm in this alternate reality, and this is a way to discover new things. This is a way to discover new solutions, right? So we leave our normal experience and now we enter this different realm. And so, the the flyers, the people who fly above, right, into where do you fly? You fly in the air. So it's kind of interesting the way that Amy weaves in, and that's where even the whole concept of things that are considered woo-woo. Woo-woo is flyers. It's the flying constellation. It's the solution. And yes, people can get lost. And Helmut Pilhar, who was Dr. Hamer's appointed lecturer who lectured all over Europe, teaching Dr. Hamer's 5 biological laws, when he describes the flyers, he says that often the flyers can have problems really understanding the biological laws because they kind of get lost in the esotericism. They kind of get lost in their woo-woo world. They're not grounded. They're like, everything they think of it in a very transposed way. They're not thinking about like the practical biological resolution to their conflicts. They're kind of off in this dreamy world, which can sometimes be helpful, but sometimes can be too ungrounded, right? It's not rooted enough in understanding the biological thing that happened. It's too symbolic. And so here, and what we do here in the AniMirror world is we want to root the woo-woo, the flying solutions in the biology so that we can have grounded solutions, practical solutions for navigating life, but then also the goal isn't to get rid of all of the constellations, it's to navigate life within them, to use their gifts. Because Dr. Hamer called these constellations a super sense. This is a super sense. This is, again, like we don't want to call it, we don't label things good, bad. Oh, the constellation is bad. It's a solution. We don't label, oh, this tumor, oh, it's bad. It's a solution, right? It's an adaptation. And yes, can adaptations be too intense and too long and create, problematic circumstances? Yes. But we want to recognize the meaning, the function, the purpose for all of the things that are going on in the psyche, the brain, the organ, right? So we can find solutions. But that's the cool thing is that there are solutions available everywhere, right? And that's what Anamire has unfolded is like there are solutions everywhere. Your animal is showing you a solution, right? Through their problem, right? Through their chronic itching, through their rash, through their diarrhea, through their territory marking. The problem is shown to you, right? But in the problem lies the solution. And that's the beauty of this work is being able to see through the problem, pull the thread. What's the story? What's this here to show me? How is this, this flying constellation, this ability to see up and above and around this problem? How can I use this, right? How can I utilize this? And so we radically utilize, right, the constellations that, often happen when you were a child, right? These scary things happened when you were a child, when you were taken into the doctor's office and held down and poked with things. It's like that was probably really scary, right? And then you left into a dream world, or you withdrew into an autistic constellation, right? We talked about the telepathy tapes and how that's a super sense, right? So they are no longer verbal because that's the when you have that scare fright and the territorial anger, you go within because without was very scary, but now you open up these windows of telepathy, these other realms. So that's just a little bit of this whole science that we have wrapped in. This is all rooted in the 5 laws of biology discovered by Dr. Hamer. But then we look and we see, okay, now that we know this, how can we look at these other realms? So, Amy mentioned human design and astrology. So these other ways of understanding the psyche, the psychology, the build and makeup of an individual and their inclinations, right? I was always, the fact that my birthday is February 2nd, I was always really like, oh, I like that. 2/2, that's my birthday, and then when I learned things about the Aquarians, I was like, oh, this is weird. This actually really, because I was never into astrology. I grew up in a very kind of conservative Christian way, and that sort of thing was, we didn't really go there because that was like New Age. And but when I read about it, I was like, this actually really makes a lot of sense. I don't know what's going on with this astrology stuff, but I really resonate with these Aquarian archetypes and these things that came up. And then when you look into human design and, I'm a generator in the human design model, it's like, okay, that also makes sense. So we want to take all of these pieces and to use them to grow, right? Because what's the whole game of life about? is this unfolding of growth and evolution and learning things and overcoming obstacles. And I think we get to use all of the tools and all of the different realms to help us on that journey.
Yeah. I think all of it is to help our mind adapt through the shadow is what I really kind of hear now. So even if we take so simply the flying constellation, we could think of the double conflict as a bunny, which is always represents fear, and it's, kind of facing backwards, like I can't face this. They're like the shadow archetype of fear, and they hold steady, and they, like a flyer, they just, they're done, they check out and they play dead. And then there's the groundhog that, if it faces its shadow, it goes back down in the hole for another 6 weeks. So those two representing kind of like the conflict of a constellation, and then the flyer becomes, I'm out of the body, I'm gonna become a winged being which has vision that can see from a bird's eye view what's happening, not to stay up there, but to help humanity, to help the whole as a gift, like the telepathy tapes and the autistic children that are playing that role, to help us see it differently. And that literally is AniMirror. How can we see it differently? How can we look at our animals to help us see us differently? And the conflicts and the hanging healing. So my what's my theory, the download, it's not even mine, I'll just say the download came, which is to tie in Groundhog Day, the movie, the concept, the loop, the time loop, and GNN. It's that Groundhog Day, that the concept of the movie, the time loop, is the hanging healing. Time is a hanging healing. And this is huge, right? It's huge. It's a big concept, but time doesn't actually change. We change numbers around, but we're in a loop until we wake up. And we get to decide and choose, what does the loop look like? So we get 24 hours every day. How do we know the 24 hours are different? Anyway, so we sit in this sort of concept of the original conflict, whatever that might be in the psyche. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I love the fact that you use the word fantasy. Okay. So fantasy, I'll say, without going into too many details, I was born in 1976 as a 4/6 generator, the cross of the unexpected. In that life's work, or in the top personality sun, is the shadow of fantasy, which is perfectly played as in, well, one day she's going to suffer or go through or experience two conflicts, and she's going to check out. So she can experience the shadow so that eventually she can give vision to something different when the age of Aquarius lands on the planet. And we need to shift our minds. So we're talking about air as the element, the mind as the part of the physiology, the biology. And so, okay, so that's one version of me. That's the generator. The 6 is the one who hangs out in the liminal. It's all perfect setup. And then we have you, the 1/3 generator, who's rooted, who has the root center defined, which means the yang energy to root something. So here, even you're the string and I'm the balloon, although we're swapping. But as far as this GNM grounding the concepts, grounding the biology is the image of grounding here, not just hanging out in the vision. So together we play this role. The cross of the Sphinx, which you are, is the aura's purpose is to completely, people come in your aura and they like, wait, what? Something's different. I don't know what it is, but I can see. And they come in and it's like, I want this. I want this shift in my life. I don't know what it is, so I'm going to start modeling it. And the three part of you would be the one who experiences trials and errors and experiences your whole life. So if you think about the movie, the looping is part of the line 3 that just is experiencing, and the 1 is the one who's investigating. Wait, does it have to be this way? Maybe it can be a different way. And I know you've shared your own personal story of, I was doing this, I was in a chiropractor practice and going, wait, there's something missing here. And that question is what shifts everything. There's got to be something else. There's something missing. Even, and we're going to weave in a little Course in Miracles. Course in Miracles. It was a man and a woman working together, and they both were. It was fighting. There was conflict, and the basically the gist of the channeling that comes in is the prompt was there's got to be another way. So everything changes when we're willing to see it a different way, and that's really how AniMirror came to be. Someone asked a question in your language of adaptation, even that, even that. How do we adapt? How do we change this? And someone asked a question about animals, and something in me, which was not of me, Amy, the identity, was it's time. It's time to land something. Okay, so let's bring in a little astrology. So we're both Aquarians, February, January. Aquarians are of the mind. Aquarians are, so here we are, the age of Aquarius, and Aquarians are originally ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the ruler of time. And here we are talking about the time loop originally. So, but then there was a shift, and Uranus became the ruler of Aquarians. And Uranus is all about the evolution and revolution through love. How? Well, in the word evolution and revolution is love and lover. So here we are in the age of lovers. What is it about? Are we here to love? Are we here to play? Or are we stuck in the loop like Phil? Okay, so we have two Aquarians. The movie comes out. It landed in Europe, I think, February 4th. And you said 93?
Hmm.
Aquarian. So it lands in the Aquarian month. It lands in the US February 12th, still Aquarian. And then in the movie, we have Phil, um, the main character, and his Anamire is the groundhog, also named Phil. Can't get any more obvious. And then Rita plays the producer. And in Rita's name, I'm just weaving in the Aquarian little nugget here first. Rita, in her name, is air, AIR. So here we are again, going back to the mind, going back to the representative of air, which is Aquarian. So the Aquarians, the generator, and another storyline where I rebirthed myself, arrived and departed, and became a manifester. Really, it's a different story, but really like from the cross of the unexpected to the cross of the alpha, which I couldn't make up if I tried. Here we are, the pack. What is the alpha about? The alpha is not about that. It's about initiating something. So here I am. The vision finally is landing from the six. So anyone in human design knows the sixes, when they have their Chiron return, they jump off the roof and they finally land. And in my own landing, it became a death of 4-6 generator and a landing of 5-1 manifester. It's a totally different episode, but it makes sense. It's finally landing. And before that happened, we engaged and you started to root. The Sphinx lit up and said, oh no, we have to ground this, ground this. So that's the Aquarian part, the human design part, the flying part, whether the benefit and the value of not resolving yet, maybe ever, because like Mary Poppins, who is the representation of a flyer too, she's out, she brings in, and I just realized the other day, she has to land to deliver the gifts. And so it's kind of this beautiful symphony of the two of us and what we are doing together, but also what we're doing for the planet. And we kind of go back and forth. So people come with their symptoms, which the nuance of symptom is some time. It's just happening in some time. So, okay, so we've got that. So now, where do we want to go? Um, about the movie itself and Groundhog. Do you want to take it or do you want me to keep going?
Oh, I mean, the movie is just so good. So we've got Phil, who's just this grump. He's just a big grump, and he's ready to move on to the next thing, right? He wants the next big promotion. He's like, I don't want to be doing, I don't want to cover. This is what, the third year in a row that I've covered. I'm going to Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, to cover this story is too small for me. He wants to get out, or he wants to move beyond this, and the How many people are done with, oh, I don't want to live this symptom again. I hate this. This is so, I'm ready to move on to the next big thing. I'm done with this, but it's like, are you though? Like the desire to escape. I want to be beyond this already. But he, shows up, he goes to the place and he gets stuck in the loop where he relives the same day again and again and again. And it takes a long time for him to see the things he needs to see, And so like, where am I rushing off to the already done, like without seeing, how did I get here? Why am I here? It was his when he really landed in seeing the present moment, like being able to just be in the present and serve all of the people he came across. I mean, you just see the transformation as he goes through the movie when the person on the side of the road who's begging for money and how when he changes and he shows and he sees what's in front of him, right? That's really the thing is he sees and he is present with what is in front of him and he's able to engage with it in a conscious, loving way, that's when everything changes. And so for us, and when we're looking at the mirror and everything, there's mirrors in movies. The messages are everywhere for the people that are willing to see them, which is what we always say when you come to the AniMirror workshop. It's like you might not think that there's anything special going on with your animal's chronic symptom. You're like, well, it's just this, and it's like, but is it just this? Are we able to show up and to see? And so when he was able to show up and see this, each scenario, each person, like the story came to life and he was able to change it. And it wasn't until he saw it, right? And that's where awareness, big little Easter egg, we got a new awareness school coming up in this next season here. And so if you are like, I don't even know where to begin, awareness school, just going to plug that because if we can't see it, it just keeps happening unconsciously, right? We are a fish in water to our conflicts. We cannot see them because especially if they're chronic and they've been there a long time, right? I just was chatting with someone this morning who's had this conflict for 30 years. And when you've had a conflict for 30 years, you don't know yourself apart from this conflict. They're like contact lenses that you've never changed. They are so glued and distorting everything about the reality that you experience, but until you can see, oh, there is something distorting my view of reality, right? And that's when you have a conflict shock. There's a BC and an AD. There's before conflict, you saw the world in a certain way, right? You didn't live through the lens of this fear. You didn't live through the lens of this devaluation. You didn't live through the lens of this terror, right? And then AD, which is after DHS. So BC AD, after the DHS, you see the world differently. You're not the same, right? Your lens has been distorted. The way you view the world, the way you view yourself, the way you view your body. And we have to start to see, oh, this is the lens. This is the reality. This is how it's been shifted. And until you can see that, you're stuck, right? You're stuck in Groundhog Day. You're stuck in the repeat, in the repeat, in the repeat. And it shows up right, in different bodies. How many times do people say, "Oh, I married my mother. I married my father. I'm reliving this same relationship." Every time I talk with someone and we're unpacking symptoms, we're looking at a friendship dynamic of, oh, well, I thought we were really good friends, but then this happened. It's like, well, is this the first time this has ever happened to you? where you get ousted from a friend group or something weird? Well, no, well, this happened in high school. Well, yeah, this happened in elementary school. Well, yeah, this happened in well, yeah, because Groundhog's Day. Because you have the lesson has you haven't, and we talk about this in the full AniMirror course, you haven't gotten all the gems from this level, right? You haven't learned everything you needed to learn. That's why it's like, here I am again, right? This is like the AniMirror, this just loving mirror, this unconditional animal that's in your life that's like, I'll show it to you again. Do you need do you need to see it again? Do you need to have do you need to see the thorn in the side one more time in order to see what you need to see? And yeah, so the movie is just it's so perfect. I mean, it's genius.
Yeah. Okay, so on that, at the Phil right, is playing the role of, I mean, the movie opens up with the very one of the very first scenes is flashing to the street of Punxsutawney, which is flashing to a movie theater. So the bigger theme is it's a movie within a movie, right? Kind of like we're watching movies, but we're in a movie because we've created the game of life, which is our movie. Okay, so he's playing the script speaker, the voice, and then there's the producer, and he's going to face Phil, the Anamire, who comes, the day begins every day at 6 a.m. And and then if the groundhog sees its shadow, it's 6 more weeks. Now the frequency of six is love. We talked about evolution, revolution, love is in there, but also the love of an animire, the unconditional, not sacrificial, the unconditional willingness of the animal, or the role we cast into the animal that represents, well, okay, in the in groundhog is the word dog and God. So that's kind of how Anamir, one of the first kind of flips and mirrors and of the mirrorverse we shared. But so there it is. It's this part of us that loves us so much that is willing to stay by our side unconditionally. So Phil, the human that plays the role, goes and sees that Phil, the groundhog, is like not ready to see it yet, going back down the hole. What happens in the hole? Well, we loop, we loop, we loop, we loop. And throughout the movie, there's all these little nuggets sprinkled in, very much like our own movie life or life movie, which is, so for example, one of the officer, the one who plays the officer says, "What's it going to be, Phil?" And Phil's like, "I'm thinking." And this is where it begins. Like, no, well, yes and no, right? There's this one, we have a mind, and the mind is the command control center that the biology adapts to. What happens here matters, literally becomes matter. So I hate my life, I'm in this loop. Yep, keep going. I don't want to face the shadow. I don't want to face the shadow for me, a fantasy. I don't want to land. Well, keep going, fly out again. Well, how's this game of life going to work? Because in the game of life, people do things like work for money. There's an exchange. Well, not in the flyer world. So just giving examples of that along the way. The big question, there's another quote, the big question on everyone's lips is, do you think Phil's going to come out and see his shadow? Like, do you think he's going to come out and face it and see himself? But it's not really himself. It's the programming, the patterns of looping. Can I get out of the loop? How do I get out of the loop? How do I resolve a hanging healing? And what are the ways? We know laughter, and there's someone in the movie that laughs. It's Ned. He laughs every time Phil steps in the pool of water. Like, come on, just laugh it off. It'll be fine. But instead, he goes down the hole, like, cursing it. Changing perception is the biggest one. That's the one I love the most. This is what we're here to land, is that you can change it all. You can change it all. It's with literally a word of "I'm willing," or "I am willing," a phrase "I am willing," or I'm giving it all up and over to something grander, to the animal, if that's where you are, or to spirit, or to source, or to love, or to creativity. It doesn't really matter what it's called. But that's where Rita, I think in the movie, plays the breath, because she's the air. She's sitting there saying, she's the one that's willing to sit and listen to him. Like when we take our thoughts to God, source, love, creator, whatever. How do I do this? Like, oh, I hate this, and no, there's a storm coming, and she's like, everyone stayed up all night. They're so excited for this. It's a complete juxtaposition of, this is one way, the happy dream. This is the other way. Go back down the hole and keep waking up every day, or keep falling asleep and think you're waking up. But he starts to realize, wait a second, wait a minute. You repeated that yesterday. Is this deja vu? He says, what is deja vu? He starts to ask questions. And this is kind of another thing we drop in Anamire, the course, the lives, is asking is the portal. Asking is the knock knock on the door. Oh, you're ready? asking is the prayer. Prayer is just asking and receiving. That's it. It comes immediately. It's whether or not we're ready to see it. So there Phil is, I'm not ready yet. So the entire scene repeats itself over and over and over until he starts to receive the nuggets differently. And it's I don't, it's a kind of it's a nuance of I'm sick of this. Yeah, I'm sick of this. I don't like the hanging healing. Ugh, I don't want to face this anymore. Well, have I faced it at all? Have I asked the question? How did I get here? What happened?
Mm.
Can I do this differently? And the song that plays at the bowling alley in the movie is Take Me Round Again. So it's okay, keep looping. It's not a problem unless you start to not enjoy the process and then you get a chance to choose again. What do I want it to be like? And then forget about the how. It's not even the moment that we ask, things shift. My entire life changed when I said, I'm willing to see this differently. Everything, this meaning life, this meaning the relationship, the house, whatever, it didn't matter. And this Anamire came from that statement. It was one of the nuggets that showed up. Um, so to weave in the bigger proposition, the bigger thought, the bigger download from the vision, um, is there is this pattern of choosing. So once you start to choose differently, then you start to say, what am I choosing? Which 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 level of the game, if you will, or um, and which who's driving the game? Who's behind the controller? Is it source moving through me, or did I say to source, "No, I got this," which is ego, which is a thought system. It's a thought system. It's not a being. It's a thought system that's thinking instead of being. And so for me, in and through the Course in Miracles, to weave that in is the original conflict. So using GNM terms, applying to that, the original conflict is I think I separated from source. Because I think I separated, I see you and me separately. I see me and you in different bodies. I see me, you with different names. I identify with it. And my whole life is created based on a thought that I separated. And what's great to weave all this through GNM is the laughter is the resolution. And the way that the course starts is a tiny mad idea crept in the mind that forgot to laugh, that remembered not to laugh. So even that, everywhere you go, the pattern is the same. If we're not laughing, we're thinking, kind of. And if we're not laughing, we're not healing our heart. We're actually opposite because we know laughter has healed the heart in it. So, oh my God, it's an opportunity. That's what has been presented, whether it's an AniMirror or whether it's watching your everyday normal, movies, uh, or in awareness school, or I mean, just really, it's sprinkled everywhere when you're ready. Wizard of Oz, it's a whole dream. So all the movies, the nature, it mirrors the mind. And here we are, the Aquarians saying, it's time. It's time to change it with the children, the ones that actually are appearing as children that have been holding space in their mind for those who are ready to expand and say, there's got to be a different way. We're not going to survive in the dream. We're literally going to be looping, which we kind of are, but we can loop differently. We can change. His entire world, Phil, changes when he starts to pay attention to the details. So he gets her drink and he sees her light up. Who is delivering the details to him? Air. Rita, the spirit, is saying, what if you just loved me like I want you to love me, but not an ego thought? This is what I need. Oh, what happens to our relationality? What happens to our reality, the reality we create on the screen of our life? Everything's different. We may step in the puddle, but we'll laugh about it. It won't become a conflict of self-devaluing, like, damn it, I'm an idiot. it'll just be like, oh my God, this is hilarious. Like, wow, it happened again. And so there's a lot, there's so much.
Yeah, one of the pieces I was gonna bring in with the Rita thing and the, because like when he was trying to manipulate her to get an outcome, right? When he's like trying to learn all the things about her to try to woo her to get her in bed or whatever, it's like it always ended in a slap. It ended in a slap. It ended in a slap. And it's like you can't do it for the wrong reason, right? You can't fake the awareness. You can't fake the, okay, well, I'm going to put all the things in place, but it's like that doesn't, genuinely rearrange. So a conflict is resolved when it can't happen again or when you can laugh about it. And it's like you can rearrange things on the surface and like I'm doing everything right, but it's like it's the heart. The heart didn't, it wasn't until his heart changed, right? And he stopped doing it to try to manipulate to get something from her, where he genuinely changed from the inside out and was like present and loving and showing up and seeing the people and like giving, you know what I mean? And he showed up in a different way. And that's why she fell in love with him, and that's that the love didn't come when he got everything right on the surface, right? And that's when people get frustrated. They're like, well, I'm doing everything right. And but the symptom hasn't changed. Well, I've done all the work. I've been doing the work, but it hasn't. And it's like there hasn't been that something fundamental hasn't rearranged. The conflict could still happen again, right? And that was the thing is like she wasn't going to fall in love with him because he did everything right on the surface. It's like he had to genuinely rearrange his orientation to life, to, it's like now no longer I'm trying to get something, right? I'm being. He started being someone different that she fell in love with and was just, that was the transformation. But he tried so hard. He tried so many times. If you can try all that you want, right? You can do the same stuff for an entire lifetime, right? There's another symbolic book that's full of stories where people were wandering in the desert for 40 years to try to get to a promised land, right? But they couldn't get there, even though it was right there. They had to keep wandering in the desert for 40 years, and that's all symbolic. It's all stories to help you to realize that I could keep doing this. You can keep doing the things that you're doing forever. You don't have to see the symbolism in your Anamire. You don't have to, right? It's like you're just going to play the game again and, maybe you'll wake up that time. So there's no pressure. If you're putting pressure on yourself to get it or there's no pressure, right? It's all part of it. And when you can chill and relax and see, be willing to see in a different way. And that's all this is. This is all an invitation. This is all just a fun thing of, things that make sense to us, and ways that we're navigating the game of life. And, we're inviting you to maybe see it in this way and maybe use some of these tools and use some of these bridges and the things that you're into, and the things that make sense to you, so that you can get out of these loops, right? To have that genuine change. So you can laugh about these things and say, oh my gosh, all this time I thought I was abandoned. All this time I thought I was devalued. All this time I thought I was worthless, and that was all an illusion, right? That was this, this fundamental conflict of like thinking that I'm separate from everything and I'm actually in danger. And how cool, even in the, there's real physical present danger, but even in the midst of, haven't there been amazing stories of people who are like, being chased by an animal or like, encounter a venomous snake, but like they don't live in fear. They realize, oh, this is part of nature, right? And they get through something that could be life-threatening, in a seemingly miraculous way because they didn't believe in the separation, right? And so things like that are always available for those who are willing and ready to see, right? And so it's a lot. It's a lot and it's so fun. And yeah, I hope you guys are picking up what we're putting down.
Well, you brought in fundamental, and I can't help it. It's how my brain sees the patterns. Fun is in there, and so is mental. So that is the way to change the perception. It's the kids' way, it's the innocent way. If it's not fun, something is wrong. And I mean wrong as in looping, like not wrong as in judgment, like, ooh, I'm gonna loop back to the game to that same level again. If I want to expand, not advance, expand into receiving what Phil eventually, what he actually eventually receives is that he gave away the thought system and he expanded into her frequency that she's offering, which is no BS, no belief system. It's love. He says, what do you cheers to? And she goes, I always cheer to world peace. And this is you've offered, what is the path of peace? So what is the path of peace that you're also having fun? He asks her, what do you do for fun? And so that's riddled through there is all the nuggets and there, meaning there, the movie, but also there in our life. There's always a choice. There always is a choice. This is the magic how. If people ask how, you choose differently, literally choose differently in your mind, and then the mind, when I make that statement inside, statement, mental state, when I say it here, I'm willing to see it differently, I'm willing to hear it differently, I'm willing to choose differently, then every cooperating component changes in the movie of my life that I experience. So the what we are offering, what GNM offered, what offers Dr. Hummer ahead of his time, we say. I mean, he landed it with so many other things that happened on the planet, the harmonic convergence in the 70s, where Celestine prophecy dropped in, human design dropped in. I mean, all these things, the channel, the transmission happened. That's like one of the big ones. And here we are using it kind of like, are you going to ever remember the story of, the Bible? Like, when did that happen? There's something that spans the cross of time, which is, yesterday is now and tomorrow is now. That's what he realizes. There is no tomorrow. It's today. I have to change it today. It's my only option. Or I wake up and it's repeat, 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 and I lose my mind. Well, that's the whole point. I hope you do, because that's the only way to get through. So here we are. How would you resolve it if you knew that you could right this very moment? That's what we're really, really offering. And the how is choose differently. I choose to see this differently. That statement and the asking, okay, how? Even that. How do I do it? I want to. I choose to. Or how would you create the game of life differently? Or how will you know now that your mind has been blown by all of this visionary flying constellation? Now you know there's a benefit to having a constellation. This is one of them, that you get these downloads or transmissions to do life differently. And this is like, great. So now my perspective, even on a constellation, is great. I'm so glad that stuff happened when I was a kid, because this has landed. This is the benefit. I get to change my life. And if you believe in one mind, you're changing all of them at once. So this is the opportunity to to trust the process, perhaps, to choose differently, to appreciate, like Phil learns to appreciate, be grateful for the experiences that you have created and all of the cooperating, conspiring components of humans and animals and nature and movies and houses and cars, and all of it is for the evolution, the expansion of the mind, for what purpose? I don't know. Leave it up to each person. Peace, expansion, or maybe just to remember that we aren't separate and we remember that we are love and it's eternal and you can't possibly die if you tried. So why not have fun? That's one of the themes with Phil. He actually says, "Well, screw it. I'm just going to die." Like literally tries to kill himself. He can't. He keeps waking up.
That one, that part is so good.
Right.
I like it's not gonna work. It's just not gonna work because that there is no separation. There isn't an end, right? This is the song that doesn't end. It just goes on and on, my friends. Some
Yeah.
people started singing it, not knowing what it was, and will continue singing it forever just because this is the song that doesn't end.
Yeah.
It goes on and it is whatever you want it to be. If you need a tragedy this time, if you need a boring story, if it's whatever you're playing all the parts. You're the actor, you're the director, you're the producer, you know, you're the groundhog, you're Phil, you're Rita, you're Ned, you're all
Yes.
the characters.
Yes, if you, yeah, and then that's another, just not to expand, but to weave in, if you love internal family systems, that's exactly it. All of us are parts of ourselves, and it gets really, for me, fun, mentally fun to, oh my God, I'm not, he did this to me. Wait a minute. That's a representation of a part of me. When in Phil's case, it's so, the movie, the script writers, they make it so obvious. Phil is seeing his shadow and he goes back down again. I'm not ready to face it. But it's the part of him inside his internal family system that either was, I don't know, something happened and he was exiled, but it's he exiled himself, a part of him. So if you know you are every player of the chessboard, how will you do this differently? And it all comes back to love, as in love the mirror. And that maybe that's the original self-devaluation is I thought first I think I separated. There was the conflict there. And then I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh no, nope, you're bad. You separated. You think you separated. And so I start to self-devalue in myself. And so we create all of the conflicts. Okay, now what? Call in all the part, all the parts, all the players, in every direction to help wake us up. Rather wake myself up in every direction. So this has been one of the most fun assignments ever. Thank you to Groundhog Day and honoring the flying constellation. If you're ready to pick up this nugget and, cross the go and do it again. So, oh my God. Where do we find us? It's going to be in the outro, but we are doing our lives.
Yeah, so I don't know when we're going to put this one out, but we have 2 lives left for the summer. One coming up on Friday, July 18th, and then we would love to see all of you there for the one in August, August 22nd. Will be our last of the Dog Days of Summer series. And so you can join us for those workshops. You can get into the full 15 module course. Yeah, and we just would love to connect with you. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Please subscribe and share. I mean, it's a very unique niche here and the things that we talk about. And so we need you to help us kind of spread the word to people who get it, because not, the time is now, and a lot of people we're trying to bring in a lot of the different worlds. And so Amy, she is into a lot of different things. And so we want to bring the people who are into human design, astrology into the world, get rooted into the 5 biological laws. And so that's what the vision of this platform really is all about. It's that rooting in biology, but also seeing the connection to that esoteric realm.
Yeah. Help me wake up all of me everywhere. How about that for an invitation? Oh
Beautiful.
my God, thank you for playing along because it really is fun for us. And Melissa can't help herself. She brings in all of the fundamentals because that is what it's based in and how we root from top down or in out. So thank you. This has been glorious. And go watch the movie.
Watch the movie. That's your homework. See you next time.
Bye.
We hope that the messages from today's episode landed with you. Your animal knows, nature knows, your biology knows.
Everything reflects you. Every symptom, sensation, and synchronicity. It's all a mirror.
If you're ready to go deeper, join us inside the full 15-module AniMirror course or come alive with us in the next AniMirror live experience. You can check animirror.com for upcoming dates.
You can also book a private AniMirror immersion with both of us if you want to dive deeper and more privately. If you wish, contact us at support@animirror.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the AniMirror podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
Until next time, if you dare to be willing to look into the mirror, we're here.